Is anything rolling yet, Chris?
Oh, we've been rolling.
Okay, we need to talk about that. So again, the big elephant in the room then, if we're rolling, the big elephant in the room, and Gunsite banned the Sig 320s a week ago yesterday, and with all due respect to our industry partners at Sig, we don't want to see anything bad to anybody in our industry. We don't. The pie's big enough for all of us.
We all lose, yeah.
But we also have the liability concerns along in there. And shoot, I've got my Sig 226. It was not my department's duty gun, but somebody else's, and I bought it off him. And I wouldn't be shy of dropping that in my holster today and carrying it. But there are some concerns about the 320s out there, and
which you don't want to drop.
Pardon?
Which you don't want to drop in your holster.
Yeah. I mean, Sig's taking it on the chin here, but they're a good company. I just hope they can do the right thing.
So there's been allegations about the Sig P320 for years. What was it that prompted Gunsite to say, okay, today's the day?
Okay, I got some.
Save that.
I got some feedback back when we posted this. 99% of it is positive, saying they understand our liability concerns. Right, and it's for my prior life as a sheriff, the term vicarious liability comes in mind. If I know there are grave concerns about something and I let it carry on, and something bad does happen, it's not just liability, it's vicarious liability. So it wasn't that FBI Michigan State Police report. A couple weeks ago, we had one of our youth classes. We do kids 12 to 16 through all levels of pistol and general rifle. And this cute little gal was in her 350 pistol class, and she had on a Sig 320. And we all know, God created ladies' bodies a little bit different than men's, and her hips flared out just a tiny bit. And her Sig 320 was pointed right at her thigh. And that caused me grave concerns. If that gun would have gone off, I don't care how good our emergency response is and what our plan is here and so on. She had about 1.5 pints of blood in her whole body. And I talked to Mom about it, and Mom wasn't all that concerned about it, but I was very relieved when she left on Friday afternoon, not because she left, but because there wasn't a gun issue. And you go home, and like a lot of us, I'm a parent, and it just made me toss and turn. I could have lived with myself if I allowed that young American to have that gun if something bad would have happened to her, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back here. And decided we just need to stop this until Sig can get their things sorted out and make these guns so that the concern's gone away. So that's what did it. It just we've always been about gun safety. So
If Sig calls Gunsite tomorrow and says, we'd like to come down and give a demonstration of why we think the P320 is safe, would you let him come down?
Well, I'd let him come down. But I could also call in one of our Rangemasters, who is a Sig Master armorer, who has had his hands on one of the police guns that went off on video, and I'm not going to get any more specific than that, but that agency got a hold of his state agency and asked him to come in. They sent him down there, and he was able to wiggle the gun in the holster and get the striker to fall. So if you want to blame it on the holster, you want to blame, I don't care what you blame it on. The point is, it happened, and it's not where I heard, my second cousin's ex-brother-in-law told me about it. This is a guy that if one of you guys told me I made it happen, that's good enough for me. And we, none of us had assumed that kind of risk, child or adult. So,
Corollary to that, it'd be interesting. Is it too late for Sig to stand up in public and say, this is why it's safe? There's already been a demonstration of a problem. Maybe they should come in and say, here's what caused this, we have fixed it. I don't know. I'm not in the industry.
That has not been their approach thus far. Their approach thus far is to say it can't happen.
Well,
That's a loser.
And
here's the other side.
That's the industry.
Here's the other side. You have the last 30 plus years of high-end security law enforcement holsters that have saved countless lives because of the ability to defend against gun grabs, criminals, close quarters altercations with other, resisting suspects that are endless. I mean, you can't count them, right? And so these holsters, well-proven designs. And now this particular model gun is having problems in those holsters, which have been, very reliable for over 3 decades.
And I think that part of the problem is that, it's trying to blame shifting on Sig. There's got to be a problem.
Yes.
Well,
Because it happens
if
way
there
too-
was a problem with the holsters,
Well, that's what I'm talking. That's my
other
point.
guns would be having the same problem.
Exactly. So that's what I mean. Blame shifting. It can't be the gun. It's the holster, or if it's not the holster, it's somebody's negligence in handling the gun. There's always something else. It's always a shift away from. It's not the gun.
Yeah.
And
Now that's bad optics.
yeah, it just doesn't fly.
It doesn't matter if it's human behavior or if it's a manufactured item. What is the first step to fixing it? Admitting the problem. And until they admit the problem, nothing is going to happen. Whether it's like, you know what, we're not exactly sure, but we're going to start trying to address it. But if you just sit back and go, no, there's nothing wrong, that's not a good sign.
No,
I'm not an
and it doesn't
alcoholic. I
promote
just
confidence
get blackout drunk every
in the
night.
customer base either.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That's what helped Ford with the Pinto.
I owned a lot of Pintos
You need a chair, sir.
I
back in the
think,
day.
Ken, I think from a vicarious liability issue, I think you had to do what you had to do, and I think the feedback I've read and heard has been very positive. I'm not an expert. I'm not an armorer. I don't know the mechanical details that are working or not working. But where there's smoke, there's fire, and until you can prove that it's not fire, you have to assume there's fire. So I think
we're not
you
the
did the
only
right
school.
thing. No, you're not, and a lot of people have followed suit. And I think at this point, the denial strategy is that approach has not worked. So, whatever they do, they'll figure it out. But I think in terms of your question of what do we think about Gunsite having done it personally, I think you did what you had to do.
Well, I'll tell you this about Gunsite. If folks are concerned about, this is the only gun I own, and I can't afford to put buy another gun and the magazines and the holsters and so on. If it really comes down to the finance, I'll loan you one of my guns and the equipment. Or I speak for Gunsite. We've got lots of rentals we can get to you, but if you can show me you've got the need, the important thing to us is getting you trained. We want you to go home, be safe, and be able to take care of yourself and your family. And if you absolutely need that gun, and the only thing you've got to 320, I'll get something out of our rental armory, and I won't charge you for it. Now, I'm not making this carte blanche, hey, you want to get a gun free from us. But if you show that need, whether it's my own personal gun, and I bet you any of the rest of you sitting here,
There's not a single person that teaches here that hasn't loaned a gun
Yeah.
anywhere.
Absolutely.
Guns, holsters,
Yeah.
whatever.
Get them
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
Get them
Make
through
it
the
happen.
training.
So again, this wasn't a beat up Sig few minutes here, but
Sig's
it's
still a
kind
great company. I mean, I'll bet everybody here sitting here owns at least one 6-hour.
Or has.
Or I was gonna say,
Or has.
I know.
Or has owned many.
Yeah.
I said, I've got enough that if you don't, I have the average. Yeah, it's a great company, but they need
You
to fix
want
it.
to loan me a 320, don't you? I can tell by the look in your eye.
I'll see you on TikTok.
So one of the great things. Now this is the new gatehouse here. We'll shift gears a little bit. This is the new gatehouse here, which is wonderful. But I started coming here in '90. Came on the part-time staff in '93, and Lou and Dave. Some of the best evenings of my life were spent sitting on the porch of the Gunsite Gatehouse with the other instructors, maybe a student or two, doing just what we're doing here, relaxing, having a cigar, having an adult beverage or a soda. Can you tell I'm from the Midwest?
You're right. This is where the legends are from.
It is.
Mike Hughes, Ed Stock,
Yeah.
Ed Heads, on and on.
Yeah. It just goes on and on. And some of the stories mostly true. Well,
There's always a kernel
Of truth.
of truth somewhere. Yeah.
gunsight instructors have never been known to let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Right.
Or that you can take to the bank.
I'll outbid you on this. I've never had a bad night working, sitting down after dinner with any event up here at Gunsite. And I can't outbid you guys in terms of numbers you experienced, but I can go with a loss percentage, I'm sure.
And this
I've had a bad morning after.
this is senior gunsight fellow Dick Williams speaking here. It's not just this isn't just anybody speaking.
And those are not credentials, by the way.
His chair even says it.
It has to.
I'm not moving. I'm moving.
So it's good times here. So what other guns? What other gun stuff we want to talk about?
Well, and I'm not trying to beat up on them still, but didn't we, and you and I didn't know each other then, but when you were the national sales for Glock, and I was working at a flashlight company early on when they first started coming out with weapons lights. From our end, what we saw was, and I think from yours too, that when you hooked a weapon light up to the, wherever you want to put it on a gun, one gun that had a problem with reliability numbers was the Glock. Mm-hmm. And the answer that I heard was, we didn't design it to hang that weight up in there. Well, you've changed the dynamics of what we did. Is that right or wrong?
It's correct.
And it straightened out very quickly.
Yeah, well, what happened is, and it was mainly an issue with the G22 Gen 3s when they first started, and some of the lights were very heavy.
Yep.
And the frame of the Glock is designed to flex.
Worse than that. We added our own connector rail or mechanism, which was even more weight that was hung on your gun.
So what was happening is it was impeding the flexing of the frame.
Exactly. That was it. Mm-hmm. Write that down.
So, and it was most pronounced in the G22s and G23s and the 40 caliber guns, less so in the 17s and 19s, and as the Gen 4 was developed, it was developed specifically, one of the specifics was to address that issue. And when the Gen 4s came out, when 40 caliber was still the caliber of choice, the new double recoil spring that they added to that design mitigated that to a certain degree. So as long as the recoil spring was solid and relatively new and you changed it, at that point in time, I think we were asking people to change every 2,500 rounds on the 40 calibers on duty guns, just if they're running a light.
I was at Quantico when we started having those problems.
Yeah.
And it was FBI and it was DEA.
Wait.
And
The FBI.
Come back.
I wasn't with them.
This episode was not brought to you by the FBI.
We had it was, I can't remember the plastic light we had. It was a fairly lightweight light, but it did not, like you just said, it didn't allow it to flex.
So the early TLRs were plastic.
Right.
Yep.
It was, and we'd have 50 people on the line and 50 different Glock Model 22s, and we'd have consistently maybe 5. It just wouldn't run quite right. The other 45 would be fine. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at 90% fine, no problem. But the others wouldn't, and you could tell. And they came back and they said, "Hey, why don't you change out the magazine springs? We're gonna put one more coil in there. It'll push the round up faster." Yep. Because what was happening was, because the flashlight clamped and didn't allow it to flex, that slide would come back and forward so fast that it wouldn't pick up the next round. So it was chambering on an empty round, and empty chamber. And so we changed it. We're like, that's the dumbest thing. That doesn't have anything to do with it flexing and all that. But we changed out all the springs, and lo and behold, we didn't have any more problems. We had to download all the magazines by one round. But other than that, it fixed 100% of the problems.
That was when the advent of the 11 coil spring versus the 10 coil spring, and that mitigated a lot. It seemed like the 165 grain ammo at the time in 40 cal was less susceptible than the 180. Mm-hmm. But it's all timing. The slide coming back, the round presenting out of the magazine, it's a timing issue.
You mean we should have paid attention in physics in high school all those years ago?
You took physics in high school?
When we were there, they were doing it on stone tablets.
Here's the other thing. You know, we're crying about living in the golden age of the finest firearms availability,
That's exactly
the most
right.
reliable, the best equipment, the best ammunition that we have ever had in the history of mankind. And so it's like, hold on, I know we're Americans and we expect perfect every time, but sometimes good enough is going to be good enough. And so the idea that, oh, this is horrible, this is the worst thing that ever happened. Now, if people are being injured or worse, then that's something that has to be fixed right now. You can't paste over that at all. And anybody that's trying to paste over it, they should pay a very serious price. But otherwise, there's other things to worry about.
On that same vein, we are in the golden age of firearms right now. Combat weapons, a combat rifle. What is an accepted? Everybody that I go to, and every time as a gun writer, I'm always like, well, if it's not sub-minute angle at 100 yards.
Oh, I have this written down. Hold on.
It's clearly this gun is worthless. The gun is. I wouldn't pay anything for this. What is an acceptable minute of angle gun at 100 yards for a combat weapon?
I can go back in
Go.
the Wayback
Foot?
Machine. I can go back in the Wayback Machine and tell you. And I'll bring back
I know what the answer is going to be, but go ahead.
Colonel Cooper said that any man that could take any gun, and it doesn't matter what the gun is, but if you could, on demand, hit a target at 100 yards, an 8-inch target. We're talking about the vitals, the vitals of a deer, which is also, by the way, the vitals of a man. Okay? On demand, within 5 seconds, one shot, that was an acceptable weapon.
So an 8-inch gun at 100 yards is acceptable for combat?
Yes.
Our U.S. Army says
Yeah,
4 inches.
You said four for a number of years.
Yeah, but we're in the
Is it
golden
for-
age, right? So this is computer generated, CNC machined.
But they
You
said
know,
4 inches
check.
50 years ago. Today, should we up that? Should it be a 2-inch gun? Should it be a
people-
1-inch gun?
No, because people can't hold it.
Yep. Particularly if they're getting shot at.
It
weird
assumes
positions.
that
One of the Marine
the sole
divisions.
arbiter of accuracy is the rifle. When
It
in
does
fact-
assume that.
Yeah,
That's
and in
true.
fact, it's the rest of the process
Yep.
that has the greatest impact on accuracy. not
And that's
the
why they
rifle.
come to Gunsite. Nice crash
plug.
commercial moment here.
Actually is.
But you've seen it, and we've done the shoot-offs, and we've seen the reports from the field. We've seen combat reports. The person that can say, "Oh, look at that one, bang." That's combat accuracy, right? So if we boil it all down, we go back 150 years, right? And we talk about long hits in the Civil War, the American Civil War,
Or Northern Aggression.
because we kept better records than everybody else in their Civil Wars. But you know,
My work
that kind of accuracy on demand, people worry about a lot of things. And we're not talking about the bench rest people who are doing.
I think it's called obsessive compulsive.
Yeah. Well, that's not what it's called, but we can't say it on TV. But we spend a lot of time worrying about things. It's the same thing as chasing angels on a pin, counting angels on a pin. It's like we know people that like to do it, and God bless them because they spend a lot of money here, and that's what we want. But really, combat accuracy, it's way overrated.
They want to accessorize their gun or buy the bigger, faster, all these things to make up for their abilities. When really, they might be better off spending the money on training and ammo, quality training and ammo.
100%.
You could probably get by with an AK, probably. But
Actually, you can, because I would have sworn you couldn't, but I actually took the Gunsite 1-week AK class and walked, and I MF'd AKs for decades. You can't hit a guy at 100 yards. There are all these issues and all that, and I was 100% wrong. It was a great class, and I tell you what, and I was hitting literally 3-inch circles at 300 yards. Like it wasn't that hard. I was like, at optics.
It's the Indian, not the arrow.
But to add on to that, I totally agree, Ken. I took the first class, so the year before you did, and we had a shooter who was shooting a iron sight AK, and he put 3 holes touching on paper at 100 yards with that AK. So it's not the arrow, it's the Indian. It goes back to, AKs can do it.
A lot of limitations on the AK for a long time was the ammo. The limiting factor wasn't the barrel, it wasn't the AK itself, it was the ammo. And we got such great ammo now.
Well, also, the AK that you buy today that was built by somebody who knows what they're doing is the far cry for the $300 AK you bought at whatever gun store.
Or the $79 AK you got in China
30 years ago.
30 years ago.
Only 10 to a crate for $6.99.
Yeah, well, because I can remember not wanting to spend the extra money for an AK because an SKS was $50.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Those guns probably, maybe, they might do that, but you can't make the comparison today because the industry is just so advanced when it comes to making. Because I'm a big AK guy, so
I've got to express a little resentment here. You two guys trying to play the age cards in this group.
Yeah.
In the 1960s, I spent those years in the military. Okay, I'm not Audie Murphy or any of that stuff, but
You're about as old as
more
him.
on the side of handguns. I shot with some guys, I wasn't one of them, who could do 2,600 plus points out of a match that only had 2,700 available points. As I said, I couldn't do that. But about 20 years ago, MARSOCOM, and if I'm wrong on the abbreviation.
You're correct so far.
Yes, whatever.
As long as you say Marines, you're going to be okay.
It
with
was
me.
the Marines.
Yeah.
And I think it was down where you worked at Camp Pendleton. But I saw a number where their acceptable performance level out of a 1911 handgun at 25 yards was 6 inches. And I was staggered. It's like, Jesus, we could do those 2-inch groups with some of the guns we were shooting. Not all the time, not every day. And then I started talking to a former Marine who said, I'm not using accurized, the 1911s that started out as Colt National Match guns. I'm using, well, you should see what some of those guys use. 6 inches, and I start thinking about exactly what you said, an 8-inch target at whatever distance, that'd be fine.
It was fine.
Just draw a line on your own chest and take a deep breath. That was fine.
Back in my young, dark-haired SWAT guy days, I had some good sheriffs I served for, and one of them was a fellow named Ern Hudson, and God bless him or not. He sent me he hired me when I was 19, so I'd never been a deputy, I'd never been the sheriff. He sent me to Gunsite. I'd never be sitting here today without him. But he was after he came to Gunsite, he was a 1911 guy. And so that's what became our issued pistol. Actually, for many years, the Gunsite service pistol was our issued pistol. Then I got some guns from the government program, the DRMO.
I remember that.
Right? And we got those pistols, and low bid, made from 1940 to 1945 or so.
Well, they stopped making them in 44.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we got those pistols, and we sent several of them off. Our armor did what he could, and then we put some better sights on them.
Yep.
And we issued those out to our guys. So I'm at SWAT training one day, and we're up close with our Gunsite service pistols, and my guys aren't shooting worth a hoot. And I said, all right, come on, we're going back to 100 yards. And I went to my car, and I pulled out one of those stock USGI Remington Rand 1911s at 100 yards shooting on a pepper popper, and I hit it 5 out of 5. Now, that's not saying I'm God's gift to shooting. I am not. But
That's true.
sights, trigger, follow, sights, trigger, follow through, those basic things. And I looked at these guys, and I said, so you're sitting there with $1,500 pistols, and you're not shooting worth a hoot, let's say, up at 10 yards. So, I'm from Missouri. Show me here.
That's issues.
Well,
yeah.
Again, it got down to sights, trigger, follow through. But we were shooting that gun I shot was stock. I mean, it rattled when you shook it. It was a battle. It was a made for battle type thing. They knew what they were doing then. They were handmade, even making them that quick for wartime production.
All right, I've got a training question then. we're at the epic center of training.
Thank you.
In the last couple of years, a lot of law enforcement agencies have stopped teaching iron sights at the academy and have moved to red dots on pistols. I'm torn. I'm a big believer in, if you don't know how to use iron sights, what the hell? But I'm also being told by a lot of the instructors, oh no, they're doing better now than we used to do. We can, in less time, teach people, and they're more accurate with red dots. But I'm not convinced.
What do you do when technology fails? Right? You've been on raids like me. Technology, comms, technology
Everything
fails.
fails.
It's going to.
So fun story. All right. So I'm 100% with the group that you're like you're pointing out. Like if it's dots, what happens when the dot's not there? What happens when because cops are very good about not replacing batteries. You've noticed this probably.
Well, they'll break an handle with a rubber mount
in your law enforcement career, right? So. So there's no dot. Well, here's the other side of that, right? So what do we do if we can't shoot at them because we can't see our electronic dot optic? Well, there are other techniques, right? So as long as
Are we
those
going back to training?
so as long, hold on. So wait till the end. So and this happened to me in a Southern California instructor school where a bunch of very solid shooters, I won't say very young because they were in their 30s. They'd been cops for 10, 15 years. They'd seen things and done things and been in tight spots. So I wasn't, knocking anything they'd said or did because they had been there and put their, put things on the line. So fine, it's fine. But they didn't know some things, right? This is what history's from. So you go back to Lou Cirillo and he's talking to Jim Cirillo. I'm sorry. There's another Cirillo, also named Lou, but my name's not Lou, by the way. So luckily, so and he talks about silhouette of the gun, close range shooting. Squaring up the gun. See the slide. If you can't see the size of the slide, that means the gun's pointed at the thing you want to shoot. These are low light. No flashlight, no lumens, no candelas, no anything like shooting techniques. Line up the edges of a gun. Has anybody here ever shot a shotgun before? Without rifle sights or optics or anything on it? Yeah, some of you have, I'm sure. And so it's the same thing with a pistol, only it's shorter, but the technique is the same. You line up an edge and you shoot at the thing that you need to stop. So when you add those things into the failure part, the optic doesn't work, but if I'm within 10 yards, I can hit things. If you read about Bill Jordan or Ed McGivern,
Fairburn and Sykes.
They never talked about sights. Those guys, I don't know if they ever talked to their Chinese counterparts as they were training them up, other than point the gun, pull the trigger, leave your eyes open to see what happens, and then adjust accordingly. I think it works out. It works out, and people have been winning fights with a close range without using the sights for a very long time.
So if you were in charge tomorrow of all law enforcement, all civilian training,
Oh, God help us.
and
Well, this is fun because actually, in my mind, I am. But go on.
and you had to pick iron sights first with no red dot, or hey, I'm pretty, I want to do the red dot. I'm going to just jump right into the red dot. As people are coming up.
I would do dots first, and then I would take the dots away, and I would do.
Why dots first?
I would do dots first.
The irons are backup.
Explain.
The
Here's
irons
why.
are backup.
I want to get him past muzzle blast and recoil first,
Okay.
and then I can do. This is how you do it without that little crutch of the dot.
I had not heard that technique before, but I kind of like it.
It makes sense.
It does make sense.
Follow me for more tips.
At that point, irons are backup sights.
So
You still need to know how to use them, but they're
students
backup
come
sights.
with optics now.
Oh, it's over 50%.
Oh, I think probably closer to 60 or 65.
It depends on what type of class you're doing. So in handguns now, a lot of manufacturers are offering guns coming equipped with the sights, right? So there was probably 7 to 10 years ago, there was uncomfortable. What are we doing? You know, how can we sell more guns with optics on them as a, you know, to get people to say, oh, this is cool. The same thing happened with lasers. Remember integrated lasers
Yep.
Oh yeah.
in guns? Remember how many lasers you can get now on
Glock
integrated
had
into
that.
guns?
Well, the Glock didn't have it. Somebody had one that the recoil rod. It was a replacement.
Yep.
Laser Max.
Think back
Yep.
I have one
In
for
the-
my P226.
in the 1990s when people show up with carbines with a big juice can on top. You're like, son, what do you got there? Real men shoot with iron sights, and now if you don't show up with some sort of an optic
Yeah.
on your carbine, it's like,
Manufacturer A, B, or C.
Yeah.
You're way behind the curve.
I mean, 499 I took last year. There were no iron sights. Most of the range days that I attend, handgun range days,
You
no iron sights.
cannot keep up in Gunsite Performance Center without optics.
That was the last example I was going to make. The last two, Gunsite Performance Center 1 and 2, I took. There's absolutely no way you can make any headway there without a red dot.
Performance Center's new division we've started that's purely speed and accuracy. Lou's one of our primary instructors.
It is a individual performance enhancement class.
So it's not tactics. So it doesn't,
Yep.
you can't take 350 or tactical concealed carry pistol after
No,
you go
it's-
through Gunsite.
It's not just physical; it's psychological as well.
It's hard. I haven't taken it yet, and
It's a
I
hard class.
will,
They're
but
hard classes.
it's
We were going to take a vote and say, Ken, yay or nay. It was mostly positive. So
yeah, they might let me in. Keep my bullet in my shirt pocket.
that's right.
But to go back to the red dot concept, anymore, I think that's why I totally understand and agree with your point about red dot.
Well,
It's not the future. It's today.
Yep.
I think that the pistol red dots are following the same progression or regression for me. They're rifles, because what
Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
seeing at agencies, I have no problem with relying on the dot and using the dot. I want every advantage I have in a fight like that, to everyone I can. But what I'm starting to see now are rifles issued with a red dot and no irons.
Mhm.
I'm starting to see that too.
So
I think
the
at some point in
pistols,
time you'll see that with pistols.
the
as well.
pistols are starting to do the same thing because they use them. They don't need them. It never happens.
And the reliability gets better.
But you have to, especially at the law enforcement level, you have to change that, you have to change that mindset, because there is no, can't see it, I'll just put it back in my holster and go away. You still have to finish the fight. So you want other ways to do that.
Former administrator.
Yeah.
Again, I was a training guy though, but they look at it as dollars and cents.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I can just put the optic on there and not have to pay for the iron sights.
Well,
It makes the gun $20 less
But
expensive.
here's your training part, right? Here's the fighting part.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Too
there's
many
the-
administrators carry golf bags instead of gun bags.
Exactly. There's
Well said.
when we're talking about fighting, and I've been in fights, you've been in fights, and where somebody's actually trying to kill you. I mean, seriously trying to kill you, where it gets very, very close. And so that changes the way you look at things
Yes.
going forward. So what's important now becomes really what's important now. So is it important that I get in trouble, or is it important that I keep living?
Yeah. What is it from the Untouchables? First rule, you go home.
Exactly. Exactly right. Yeah.
That's one of the biggest things about Gunsite. I had about a 10-year break. And the last time I was here in the previous, everybody was using 1911's iron sights. I come back 10 years later, all of our instructors were using red dots and 9mm.
Yeah.
And it was like watching the evolution and opening up. It's like, this isn't the only way. There's a lot of different ways to do this, and we're not going to be stagnant. And that was a big deal for me. It's like, heck yeah, I like seeing this evolution.
Well, let me take his point carried a little bit further here. A, how did we let him back? Number one.
I used a fake name.
Number two, for all those people out there on the internet, and foolishly sometimes we do read the comments, we are not the Southwest Dinosaur League. We do not take rebar and drive it through your foot to make you stand a certain way.
Yep.
We teach a modern fighting stance, the modern technique, because
Yep.
Jeff Cooper was cutting edge back then.
Yep.
And we continue to be cutting edge, but we do that by evolving, whether it's the Gunsite Glock service pistol with a pistol mounted optic, or it's Fink's Gunsite service pistol with a pistol mounted optic, or whatever it is. We have evolved over those years based on what we see real world and what we see in technology.
You're
And
staying
that's
relevant.
what we teach you to
You're
do. and
staying
that's
relevant.
Exactly, yes.
Well, here's your other thing. The gun is really the least important thing
Yep.
in fighting. It's
It's a tool.
it's
The mindset.
John Steinbeck.
It's mindset and it's
Yeah.
training and it's being able to see what's the next step.
Well, the thing with talking about red dots, the thing that I noticed in my tenure at Glock was the evolution to the red dot. There were several key factors. One of the first agencies that really started using red dots was Georgia Bureau of Investigation. And the reason they started going to red dots was because their older guys were having trouble qualifying.
Yep.
Now, a lot of that, all of us are a little bit longer in the tooth and got gray hair, and when your vision is not as acute as it used to be, a red dot is a great advantage for you. Secondarily, the thing, what they were doing, they wanted to keep those guys that had this investigative experience. They couldn't qualify. They put red dots on. Now they can qualify.
Yep.
If they couldn't qualify, obviously they couldn't work. But the other thing that I've noticed in the evolution of the red dot system is the older guys benefit from it greatly. The younger guys coming up have been playing video games, and they are extremely adept at. They're used to seeing a red dot.
Yep.
Hand-eye
And-
coordination.
Yeah,
Hand-eye
and
coordination.
they do very well on
Way
it.
better.
We were at an event
Take air
a number of years
conditioning and
ago,
automatic
and
transmissions.
there were some younger
That's
younger
what-
kids
that's what
with their
they're
parents, and they were shooting. And there was this young gal. She was probably 10 years old, and she shot a G19 with a red dot on it.
Yep.
Steel plates at 10, 11 yards, and she's hitting all of them. Give her a gun with iron sights, couldn't hit it, anything. But that kind of opened my eyes to the fact that the red dots have a very succinct advantage for new shooters whose eyesight is not what it used to be, especially in lower light conditions. So I think it's a natural evolution of things to go to red dots on handguns.
I think you have to look at the pre-mindset of who you're talking to. There isn't anybody in America who's never played a video game with weapons use kind of things. Maybe I'm the only one. But if you take an opinion from 250 million Americans, and then you go talk to a half a dozen former Marines who got blown out of a goddamn vehicle, landed on their weapon, crushed, destroyed totally, whatever that electronic component was, and ask their opinions about what they would stress. They do that again. They talk to guys that come in and say, and then you discount the guy who says, I saw this in a class, Red's weapons. This guy came in and was it John Marshall, the little guy that does them?
John Hutchison.
John, okay. And he was in there.
He's an evil man.
Well, compared to
This is
Oh, I know, I know.
yeah. But he's out there and he's demonstrating a lot of stuff with a rubber knife, which is a very good idea, by the way. And this computer expert came up to him and said, I'll bet I could take that knife away from you. Drops the rubber knife, pulls out this nasty looking dagger that he designed. He says, good, show me. And the guy looks at me and says, well, not that knife. Well, thanks for your expertise. Wow.
Hey, let me change gears entirely here. We've been sitting here almost an hour talking. And let's talk cigars a minute. What cigar you got there, Mike? Well, when you grow up, we'll
You
get
know,
one.
I'm a
But
good
no
Seventh-day
pressure.
Adventist, so I don't partake. Plus, they make me throw up, and that's the big
We appreciate that.
Medium body cigar is what I usually like the best. I'm not a cigar aficionado. I rely on my other friends here who are to provide me with the proper cigar.
Guns and cigars and adult beverages, certainly brown water ones, seem to go together.
I like Connecticut shade cigars in the mornings, usually Rocky Patel, and then I work up more medium and then a little bit bolder in the end after dinner. I'm smoking a Rocky Patel white label right now.
No,
I'm not
no.
old enough yet, so as soon as I can,
When you grow up, we'll
when
get
I
you
grow up,
one.
I'll get one. But I do love the smell. I just don't partake.
David,
Yeah, not a smoker.
no.
I know it's hard to believe, but I have no comment.
That is hard to believe.
Well, the Zamboni machine just fired up.
Yeah.
I don't even have to go to hell for it. It was pretty warm here today. Lou, anything here?
Well, I'm lucky. In the Wayback Machine, my grandfather, when I was 5, 6 years old, he was mayor of Bowling Green, Kentucky. And one of my earliest memories is walking through the city park, and he's smoking, I couldn't tell you what it was, but to me it looked like something out of a circus show. You know, 7 inches long, and everyone stopping to shake his hand, and we walked over to the softball field to get some popcorn and watch the game. And so the smell of cigars reminds me of that happy memory. So it matters not what the cigar is, unless it's a Tiparillo. And then there's different memories. But otherwise, that's it for me.
Dick, our senior fellow and probably senior cigar smoker here, what do you got to offer?
Actually, I'm not the senior cigar smoker. I fell in with some evil companions here at Gunsite.
And everybody believes that standing on their head over there against the wall.
I had a
victim.
wonderful time. I mean, that's an old German drinking song, or Austrian. But I'll follow with what Matt said, and it's there's moments in the day where certain flavors appeal to you, or certain strengths. I think the most important part for me is twofold. One is I'm budget conscious. And a lot of times if I'm putzing in the garage, I'll leave a cigar because I get going to something else. And if I'm losing more than a certain amount of money walking away from that, I'm angry at myself. And then of course the most important criteria is how much flack do I get at home for smoking it anywhere near the house.
There you go. I've got an El Jefe today. I vacationed down in New Smyrna Beach, Florida, and I can only sit on the beach so long. My wife loves it. And I found this cigar lounge right down the road, the El Jefe Cigar Lounge. This is one of theirs, so it's wonderful, but I sort of go along with Matt's description of cigars. I was 14 working in a little butcher shop, grocery store at home, and at the end of the day, you were the kid, you cleaned up. Well, the butchers all smoked cigars. Now, fortunately, they weren't Swisher Sweets, but they were Dutch Masters. And, you know, that
cost you.
Yeah, and I started smoking cigars then and found out it's a relaxing thing to do, to sit down, whether it's with a big cup of coffee or a, what's the wine that you drink with cigars? Port, or I like a good bourbon, but it's right here. It's this right here is what it's about. Sitting down, relaxing, rehashing the events of the day, and just the celebration of life.
Amen.
So I think that's what we got for today. Let me close with a toast. It's my quote from Harry Truman. Work hard, do your best, and keep your word. Never get too big for your britches. Trust in God, have no fear, and never forget a friend. My friends, I'll see you back here at Gunsite.
Amen.
Right.